fury.
In this Diablo 4 Barbarian build guide, I'm going to show you my Bludgeoning build that I'm absolutely loving right now. Let's get into it. The first thing we're going to cover is the expertise. So what I'm running is this one for all of the particular weapons, and then we are running a two-handed mace as well for our weapon. The next one, these are the abilities, the skill tree we're running. So I'm running Flay, and I'm running Enhanced Flay. Now the only reason is just because I like to pick off enemies sometimes with this. You can use something else. But keep in mind, this build is an all-round build, so you can use it for mobbing, single enemies, and bosses. Next I have Whirlwind. I have 5 points into that. And then I have Enhanced Whirlwind, and then I have the Furious Whirlwind for Bleed. This is a Bleed build. And then here I have 3 points into this one for our vulnerable, make enemies vulnerable for 2 seconds. Down here I have Ground Stomp. This is just to get our Fury up. And then I have Ground Stomp Enhanced. And then I have this one here to give us 25 Fury. I'm purely only using that to get Fury. Then I have my Rallying Cry. Then I have Enhanced Rallying Cry. Then I have Tactical Rallying Cry. Once again, this is to give us more resource generation, so more Fury generation, and give us some Fury, so 20 Fury when we activate that one. And then down here, I have Warcry, and then I have the Enhanced Warcry, and then I have this one, Mighty Warcry. And then we have Booming Voice, 3 points into that. And I think that's it for that one. Now, this one, I have 3 points into this one just for increased critical strike chance. I have 3 points into this one solely for damage. This is really good for bosses. So we have Deathblow, and then we have Enhanced Deathblow, and then we have Fighter's Deathblow, which is really good for getting more Fury. Now let's get down, and I have this here, which is your bleeding affects slow enemies. Because it's a bleed build, it's good to have this because you're slowing down enemies, and then you can also have slow damage things on your weapons and armor. And then this one here, your bleeding effects deal 18% increased damage to vulnerable enemies. And then down here, this is important because we're using a bludgeoning weapon. This is just for two-handed ones here. So while using two-handed weapons, you deal more damage, critical strike damage. But this one here, your skills using bludgeoning weapons deal 15% increased damage if the enemy is stunned or vulnerable. And then we have this one here. Skills using bludgeoning weapons have a 30% chance to stun enemies, or 45% chance when using two-handed bludgeoning weapons. So ours is 45% chance. Now, what happens is we have a 45% chance to stun enemies, and then we have this one, which gives us that 15% increased damage if we stun or make enemies vulnerable. And then down here, I have this one, increase Berserk's maximum duration for 5 seconds and get bonus damage. Okay, so, sorry that took a while. Now let's go over the gear. All stats, plus 36 dexterity, some life stuff, and then some resistance. And then the lucky hit. This one is just some pretty standard stats here. We have thorns, which is really good. Strength, critical strike, lucky hit, and then 2 ranks of whirlwind. Now, this imprinted aspect is really important. So after spending 100 fury, your next mastery weapon skill deals 86% increased damage. So what that means is, I'll come out here and I'll show you. Spend 100 fury with this build, and then you use this here. It's more damage, and it can do insane crits if you line everything up. So that's what that means. Where is it again? This one here. Next one, just some dex, some strength, some damage reduction, and a war cry, and then gain some armor. This one here, we have strength, some resistance, some stats. Now, direct damage against bleeding enemies has up to 90% chance to stun them as well. So we're like stunning, bleeding, everything with this. Now, this is the bludgeoning weapon that I'm using. I just actually got this. damage to close enemies, damage to slow enemies, plus 51 all stats. I didn't even see that. And then skill up 35% increased damage based on your available primary resource. So our primary resource is Fury, and that means that when our Fury meter is full, it's going to give us more damage, and then that damage percent will go down as our Fury goes down. I was using this weapon as well, but obviously this is a bludgeoning build, so we're not going to talk. This is the ring that I'm using, so damage to slowed enemies. We've got a bit of thorns there. This one here is damage to close enemies, damage to stun enemies. We have some shout cooldowns. And then we have this one, whenever you deal direct damage while berserking, inflict 39% of base damage dealt as additional bleeding. So that's the gear. It did take me a while to get all this gear, and I haven't actually found anything better for quite some time now. But that is the gear that I'm using. Now let's go to our Paragon. So my Paragon is pretty straightforward. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I'll go over the glyph here. The glyph here is one that I'm using to get more vulnerable damage. So plus 10% vulnerable damage, and then a couple other things as well. And then just usual like strength, armor, dexterity, and things like that. Up here, I've decided to go with the enemies that have been affected by your bleeding for 3 or more seconds take 12% increased damage. This one is absolutely insane. So that's the build. Let's go test it out on some enemies out in the open.
I'm not.
So what you want to do with this one, guys, is you want to do all your shouts first and your stomp. So let's gather some up. Stomp, shouts, and then... yeah, that's it. Very good build. And when you're in dungeons, I didn't do it that time. When you're in dungeons, if you kill an enemy with Deathblow, you can just keep spamming it. So I'll try and show you here on another enemy. Okay. Watch me just spam it. Again, see? You can just keep going because it resets the cooldown. Alright guys, that is my Diablo 4 Barbarian Bludgeoning Bleed build. Go try it out. It's really good.